Alright, Dan Morgan. This is week 10 ELA, pre-lesson deliverable. I am going through Monday's lesson, which will involve a class discussion based on the themes that we've come upon so far in Wonder. Actually not theme, we're going to focus on conflict. And this is our first class discussion, so here's how it's going to go. Alright, we've just finished our do now. We should have our vocabulary notebooks away in 3, vocabulary notebooks away in 2, and 1. 1, 2, 3, eyes on me. Bop, bop, bop. Okay, this is going to be our first class discussion of the year. We are going to be discussing some of the conflicts that we remember from Wonder, and hopefully we've realized over the weekend's reading that there's one major conflict that has come to a head on the trip that August just took with his classmates. Before we go further, remind us, what is a conflict? Great, yes, Brianna. Indeed, correct. A conflict is a problem. It is an altercation, if you will, cha-ching. Now, we're going to be working in 2 different groups. You'll see your groups in just a moment. But first of all, I want to go through the rubric of what is expected in our class conversation. Understandably, we can't just have each other yelling over each other the way that I observe in breakfast and lunch. I've seen your group discussions. We're going to clean those up because we need to make sure that our points are heard and our points are valuable. So, here's our rubric, and hopefully all of us are going to be on the level 4. Level 1, you must participate. Even if you feel like you aren't sure that your answers are great or that you don't have something wonderful to contribute to your group's discussion, still, you must be participating. Perhaps you're going to be the person that's in charge of researching. Perhaps you're the person that's going to be involved in note-taking, maybe making a bullet point list of the points you want to make. But make sure that you do not sit on the sidelines and let this moment pass you by. It's going to hurt your score. More than participate, a level 2 discussion member will summarize previous comments. So when we raise our hands to contribute to the class conversation, we want to begin by saying that I agree or I disagree with so-and-so, who said that, and then restate what they said. We should be very accustomed to restating what we've just read or what we've just heard based on the way we've been using ADE to answer questions. So we want to summarize the previous comment, and then we want to use text evidence to support a new comment on the matter. So when we're talking about conflict and you want to say, and let's say the person previous has said something to the effect of, major conflict in the novel is that August's appearance, his difference, it creates feelings of isolation or feelings of uncertainty. Then you want to then support that with evidence from the text. Again, we've been using ADE strategy. We should be very good at this point of finding evidence to support our claim. Insecure, if you want to prove that August is insecure. So lastly, on top of all of these things, we want to include an explanation of our statement. So in so many ways, this is ADE, but we're just vocalizing it now. We've been writing an ADE strategy. Now we're going to speak through ADE language. So here are your groups that we're going to be working with. We've got Team Daisy and Team Bear. So Andrew through Abel, all of you will be working together. Not yet, but when we say, Mr. Vries and I, we're going to break, and you're going to get together with your group. Team Daisy, you will be on this side of the room. Team Bear, you will be on the other side of the room. So just like Daisy, Team Bear will be from Abel down to Brianna. The way that this is going to work is we're going to give you 5 minutes as a group to discuss your topic. You'll see your topics in just a moment. Once the 5 minutes are up, and we'll have a timer on the board, then we will take turns having a group conversation in the fishbowl style. Conjure a fishbowl in your brain for just a moment. Think of the way that you and others may look at a fish inside of the bowl. That's the same idea that we're going to use with this group discussion. Each group will take turns sitting in the middle of the classroom. If your group is not participating in the discussion, then you will be on the outside and you will be taking notes, observing what's going on in the discussion. You will also be grading the discussion. That's right, today you will be grading your peers to let us know whether or not you think that the discussion taking place is following the guidelines of the rubric or not. So, 5 minutes with each group to talk it out. Maybe jot down any bullet pointed notes that you want to include in your discussion. And then we're going to take turns. We'll flip a coin to see which group goes first in the fishbowl discussion, which will again be 5 minutes each, unless Mr. Vries or I feel like your group deserves more time. Okay, that is the JMU groups. Now, here we have our discussion topics. So Team Daisy, your topic will be what are the major themes, or excuse me, what are the major conflicts of wonder? There obviously can be more than one. There probably should be more than one. Remember, you want to use text-based evidence from multiple parts of the book. If you come to us with a group discussion and all you talk about is what's happened in the woods in our recent reading, or all that you talk about is Augie's first day of school, then we're falling short of the task at hand. Major conflicts of wonder. We should all be on page 315 by now. That means you should have ample evidence across the spectrum that you can access. And if you're wondering how much is enough, I'd say you should have at least 3 different parts of the novel that you can reference with some authority. And then Team Bear, you're going to be focusing on a much smaller amount of evidence, but you're going to have to include a lot more detail. And you're going to have to be very much more specific. Is the conflict of pages 265 to 267 major or minor? We spoke last Friday about the difference between major conflicts and minor conflicts. That is, are they crucial to the overall story? Is the conflict of pages 265 and 267, is that something that we've been seeing throughout the story? Is that something that makes the novel run? Is it something that we keep coming back to? You need to explain by connecting this event to previous occurrences in the novel. So, if you meet in the circle for your discussion, Team Bear, and all that you're telling us is, on page 265 it says this, therefore it's a major conflict. On 267 it says this. Well, then you haven't made the connections that we need. You have to connect this to prior examples that we've seen. So, for instance, if you say, if you give evidence that it's a major conflict based on page 266, okay, great. You also need to say that this brings us back to something that we've already seen before. You need to include page numbers and then direct quotes. Are there any questions about the expectations of the group discussion? 5 minutes for your planning, and then we'll begin the fishbowl. Go.